She has lit up stages, but today he lives in the shadows. Imagine passing her on the street, an ordinary figure, almost invisible. You might cross her path, look away, move on. What your eyes see is just an ordinary old woman. But your eyes, oh, your eyes, they hold a secret. They contain the light of spotlights that have long since gone out. They have witnessed entire audiences rise to their feet in deafening applause. That face, now marked by time and indifference, once covered in makeup and illuminated by the spotlights of the city's greatest theaters. Those hands which today seek shelter from the cold once held bouquets of flowers and texts by Shakespeare, Ibsen, Nelson Rodriguez. The same voice that asks for a coin today has already projected powerful emotions to the last row without needing a microphone. It doesn't need your pen. It carries with it a story that most of us only see in movies. This is the story of an artist the world consumed, applauded, and then discarded. She lost her fame, lost her fortune, lost her roof. But there is one thing that no tragedy, no blow of fate, no look of contempt has been able to steal: your dignity. Her name was Estella. And my friends, once upon a time, that name wasn't just a name. It was a promise of emotion. It was printed in bright, elegant letters on the marquees of the city's most important theaters. It was a light that guided the audience on dark nights, promising an unforgettable journey. And inside that theater, the magic was real. Her voice wasn't just a sound, it was an instrument that echoed through the stands, capable of whispering a secret love that sent shivers down the spine of the last spectator in the last seat, and in the next moment screaming with such visceral pain that the audience collectively held its breath. She didn't act. She inhabited classic characters, brought comedies to life, and her presence alone on stage filled the void with an almost palpable energy, a pure magic that everyone felt but no one could explain. And the nights weren't for sleep. They were for glitter that stuck to sweaty skin like fragments of stars, for applause that sounded like thunderclaps of approval and love, for flowers thrown onto the stage that perfumed the air with a scent of victory and admiration. And when the curtain closed, the energy still pulsed. And the mornings? Strategic pause. The mornings that for everyone are full of rushes and rushed coffee. For her, they were for meticulous rehearsals, the search for perfection in a gesture, and that hot coffee, always hot, drunk in the cozy solitude of her dressing room. And that dressing room was a sanctuary, filled not with things, but with memories. Fan letters yellowed by time with declarations of love for her art. Congratulatory telegrams. Photographs with personalities. It was physical proof that she mattered, that her art touched people. And at the height of it all, wrapped in that dome of light and affection, she believed. She believed with all the strength of her artist's soul. She believed that art was eternal. That fame, that shining companion, was a loyal love that would never abandon her. That the stage, that wooden floor that witnessed her greatest joys and her truest tears, would be her home forever. And that's when we ask ourselves, right? He asks a direct question, creating complicity. We look at our own lives, at the things we believe will last forever. Our work, our relationships, our health. And this story stops being just about an actress. It starts to touch on a fear that every human being carries, the illusion of permanence. Because if a star of that brightness could fall into oblivion, dramatic pause, what does that say about our own certainties? And the question that remains, the one that will keep us going from now on, is what happened? How did such a bright light go out? What was the event, the sequence of errors, the stroke of fate that turned the stage into sidewalk and the glitter into street dust? The fall is the most painful part of the story, and that's where we're going to dive now. Prepare your hearts, but time is a cruel director, and the script he wrote for Estella was not the happy ending that everyone, including her, expected. It was a slow process, imperceptible at first, a malaise that we ignore, thinking it's temporary. The roles, which used to arrive in piles, began to dwindle. The main characters gave way to supporting characters. Then the supporting characters gave way to speechless costumes. And then silence came. The calls that once interrupted her dinners with exciting proposals diminished. From daily, they became weekly. From weekly, they became monthly, until the ringing of the telephone became a rare event, and then a sound she heard only in her dreams. The doors that once opened with smiles of admiration now closed, slowly with a dull thud of disinterest. Success, that glamorous and constant companion, proved to be an unfaithful lover. It left without explanation, without goodbye letters. It left her alone in the dark dressing room with nothing but the echo of her own applause. So tell me something. Have you ever felt this way? Even if just for a moment? Have you ever felt the chill down your spine when you realized that something you swore was solid is actually fragile? That the world can change direction without warning you? Because that's when Estella's story stops being about an actress and becomes a mirror that reflects our deepest fears, the fear of being left behind, the fear of being replaced, the fear of no longer being enough. And then came the final blow, the one that doesn't choose victims for their fame or their talent. A silent illness arrived. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't quick, it was an erosion. A force that sapped his energy, his confidence, his ability to fight. And with it, it brought the most absolute loneliness. No family to hold her hand in the hospital. No savings to pay for treatment and rent. No support network to cushion her fall. And worst of all, the same world that cheered her has turned its back. The same people who asked for selfies now look away on the street. The indifference is colder than any winter. And so it was slowly and steadily that the fine wooden stage was exchanged for the cold, dirty asphalt of the city. That the warm, golden lights of the footlights were replaced by the cold, indifferent beam of the headlights of passing cars. They don't stop. They don't see a legend. They see an obstacle, another dot in the urban landscape. And this is where most stories would end, right? At rock bottom, at a point of no return. But what if I told you this isn't a story about a fall, about a reunion? Because sometimes you have to lose everything to find what really matters. And the encounter that will change everything is just a play away. It's not going away yet. And life continues its relentless course, the same days piling up until one day, a simple day like any other, hit a revolution. A young film director was hurrying down the street, immersed in his own production problems, blown budgets, and fragile egos away. But his mind was light years obsessed with the golden age of Brazilian cinema, with a real theater he only knew through dark, yellowed recordings and accounts in old books. And it was in one of those flashes of unconscious attention that his gaze, almost by chance, swept over the figure sitting on the step. Something about that posture, the line of her jaw, the way her head tilted, resonated deeply in his subconscious. It was like finding the missing piece of a puzzle he hadn't even known he was putting together. He stops. Suddenly, the world around him blurs. The cars, the noise, the people. Everything vanishes. There is only that face, marked not by age or the harshness of the street, but by history. Every line, every shadow told a story. It was a map of emotions lived, of characters played, of applause received and tears shed. He approaches, slowly, barely breathing, as if approaching a rare and extremely fragile work of art. Into her eyes and looks, and those eyes which for so long had only reflected indifference and contempt, now meet a gaze that asks for nothing, that doesn't judge, that just sees. And he asks, his voice breaking, his heart pounding so hard he's sure she can hear it. Please, tell me I'm not crazy. Are you Estela Mendez? And in that instant, time stopped. The universe realigned its axis. That name, which had not been spoken for years, sounded not like a question, but like a declaration. And for the first time in years, someone didn't see a worn-out coat, a dirty person, a homeless person. Someone didn't see a social problem or an obstacle in the way. Someone saw a legend. Someone saw through all the dust and pain the artist, the star, the woman who once made an entire country feel. And that's when I ask you, how many legends pass us by every day and we are blind to see them? How many incredible stories are hidden behind a tired waiting gaze for a little attention to be reborn? Because what happened after that encounter is proof that no story is truly lost. It's the most beautiful, most exciting part of this entire journey, and I swear to you, every second is worth it. So take a deep breath and get ready, because the twist is just beginning. It doesn't stop there. Today, Estela is no longer on the streets. Her story, captured through the lens of that young director, has traveled the world, not as a morbid curiosity, but as a reminder, a powerful reminder of our collective humanity. She was welcomed, not out of pity, but out of recognition, for the recovery of her story and her worth. The community came together, not to give alms, but to return what was rightfully hers, dignity. And Estela, in her hard-won wisdom, doesn't want the spotlight of fame again. She wants the simplicity of a roof over her head, the peace of a hot meal, the respect of a good morning. She became a powerful symbol that society throws away, not just people, but entire stories. Living libraries of experience, love, and art are discarded every day through sheer blindness. And we learn that sometimes the greatest tragedy isn't falling from the top. It's becoming invisible to those who once saw you fly. It's the erasure, the silence. But even in the deepest fall, there's a lesson that blossoms like the most resilient flower on the asphalt. That no person is merely what their eyes can see in the rush of everyday life. Every soul carries a particular universe of battles, achievements, loves, and dreams. A universe that simply asks to be seen. And so I ask you from heart to heart, what about you? Have you ever stopped to really look into the eyes of someone the world insists on ignoring? Have you ever held a hand, listened to a story, offered not a coin, but a moment of genuine connection? Because it's there, in these small gestures, that the magic happens. Stop being an audience and become part of the story. Estella's story is not about a fall. It's about a reunion. A reunion between her and the world, and between the world and her own conscience. And this story is ours to carry forward. What do you take from it? Comment below. I take away the lesson that tell me which part touched your heart the most. These stories matter. They transform us. If this content moved you, leave a like so the algorithm shows it to more people who need to hear it. And if you believe in the power of narratives that redeem humanity, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Because here we look you in the eye. Until the next story.